Hi everybody, it's Jen. You might know me from some of my other channels, like my tarot reading channel, my crafting channel. But I'm here today with a very important message, a very important video. It is being smart, being safe when you're out in the dating scene as a single woman in your 30s, 40s, 50s, 60s. It's all about being safe, and it is story time because I found myself in a very compromising situation that really could have turned out pretty bad. So stay tuned if you want to know my story and for some safety tips that I have for you. And ignore the background. I just don't have a suitable place to record. Anyhow, that's what a vlog is all about, right? And my oversized sweatshirt that used to fit me. I will have a video about my VSG surgery. This used to be a perfect fit, and now it's almost like a nightshirt. Anyhow, that's not what this video is about. This is about being safe in the dating scene. Before I get into the next segment, I want to put a little bit of a warning out here. If you have any children in the room or young ears, you may want to send them off in another direction, in another room, or you may want to leave the room before you finish watching this video. Okay, so I decided to record this video because of something that happened to me recently, okay? And I do have my notes here because I don't want to miss anything. And while I was eating lunch, I jotted down everything I wanted to say. Okay, first of all, I met this guy online. I met him on a dating site, which I will not mention the dating site, okay? However, and I will not use his real name, his actual name. I'm just going to say R. So I met R on this dating site. He is, I'll say this much, he is a Gemini. He was born on a Gemini Cancer cusp. And for anybody that may know anything about astrology, he's 28 degrees Gemini. So he has all the sharp wit, the analytical thinking, the planning of a Gemini, along with the emotional side of things, being emotional, being me, the jealousy and everything else that goes along with some Cancers. Now, I'm not saying that Cancer's all bad or Gemini's all bad. I'm saying just some characteristics that just kind of need to watch for. Like I said, he had all the right things to say. He felt like that I was his soulmate, okay? And he's been searching forever. He had never fallen in love with anybody without meeting them first. I'm the first time that ever happened. Of course, now I think about it, I think BS. I doubt that. And how he was going to put a ring on my finger someday. And I'm thinking about some of the synchronicities. It seemed to be so many of them. Right down to the fact that he had a Great Pyrenees dog. They're a 150-pound dog. Gorgeous dogs. A female. I grew up with a Great Pyrenees. And I'm just thinking about all the possible, maybe I was creating some synchronicities as well. So I'm thinking I grew up with a Dalmatian and a Great Pyrenees. Right now, my son, a year and a half ago, got a Dalmatian. So there's my Dalmatian that I love my Dalmatians. And the Dalmatian that I grew up with brought back fond memories. This guy triggered that in me with his Great Pyrenees. He had money. He said he had all kinds of money, no car payments, no home mortgages or anything like that. He bought homes, he fixed them up, he sold them. He was working on his I can't remember if it was the 14th or the 16th property of renovating and getting ready to flip. Okay? But I know that all his assets and the part about having cars, having homes, side by side. He used to have horses because I know I saw a horse trailer in one of his pictures. Different toys and equipment. When I say toys, I'm talking about the side by side ATV. You could go mudding in it or use it as a utility vehicle, whatever. Anyhow, That all seemed to be true. He sent me photographs, and one of them I should have zoomed in on immediately and didn't, of a lot of his home, of a lot of his assets. He was promising me the world. Flag number one, rule number one that I broke of my own is he's 2 hours away, over across the state line in another state. There's a reason why I've stayed away from long distance connections. And, you know, and I will go back. Actually, I'm going to go back to not even looking. Okay. But anyhow, 2 hours away, across state lines, promising me the world, you know, saying he's falling in love with me even before meeting me. He was pulling on those heartstrings, saying all the right things. He's an excellent communicator. Brings up the fact that he's half Cherokee Indian. And typically, he would not fit the profile of what I was looking for. He was 9.5 years older than me, and it just slightly outside of my ideal age that I was looking for. A little bit older. And I thought, well, he's a little bit older. He's pretty attractive. A case of too good to be true. With that said, we move on to the next segment about my trip. So we move on to the trip out to his place. Okay. He sends me this invitation after he sends me pictures of his home, his marble floors, gorgeous fire roaring in the fireplace, his dogs, you know, different aspects that he had, right? So he invites me out. He wants me to come out and see the place, see how I like it, and if I could picture myself there someday. All this should have been red flags, but I ignored them. I set them aside, okay? And he's telling me that, you know, everything works out. Come June, he's putting a 2-carat diamond on my finger. He wants to marry me. And again, that thought goes through my mind, is this guy for real? It just seems so perfect that I've waited for so long for somebody like him. And so I have this old truck, and I'm worried about traveling, what was it? It's like 120 miles, 124 miles, or some crazy amount of miles like that. And I was worried about the truck because of the tires. It needs new tires. It needs all 4 tires. It is rear wheel drive. The gas gauge is not working because there's something up with the ground. And then it started something recently where it heats up. I mean, to the point where the check engine light comes on, but then the thermostat opens up finally, and the heat and it goes down to normal. So I have a sticky thermostat. Those items alone, those 3 items, I'm lucky. I probably shouldn't even be driving 5 miles to Walmart. Okay, I should be staying, and if I'm gonna drive, I should be staying local, not going over 100 miles away, 2 hours away across state lines. Out comes another carrot. He was really good with dangling carrots in front of the face. He said, how about you come out here? If you break down or get stuck somewhere, I'll hook up my trailer and bring my truck out, and I'll get you hooked up, and we'll bring you out here, and we'll get you all fixed up. And he said, and just drive on out. I'll make sure you have gas money. I'm going to put 4 tires on your truck. We're going to take care of that gas gauge and the thermostat. And he said, if it's unable to happen overnight, he says, in fact, he told me to take one of his vehicles home and leave my truck there so he can work on it and get everything fixed on it. And I'm thinking, oh my God, this man's a dream. I can't believe this. And so I'm telling my mom this, and she's hoping, she says, Jen, I'm hoping that this is true. I'm hoping that he is the gem that you found in a big, huge mountain of rock. That you finally found your polished gemstone. And she reminded me, she said the same thing that was in my thoughts. If it's too good to be true, then it most likely is. But anyhow, we made the plans to go. I made the plans to go out there. Now, some precautions I did take is that I did make sure that several people had his name, telephone number, and address. And then my friend and one of my best friends down in Florida, she said, Jennifer, you need to activate, get the iPhone. Where is my iPhone app? which I did, and I added her to my iPhone, and along with a couple other people that had iPhones, where there were multiple people tracking my every move. As long as my phone stayed on my body, stayed in my pocket, wherever I was, wherever my phone was, that's where I was. They knew exactly where I was at all times. I had that tracking. I gave people his vital information. I gave time frames. Okay, I'm leaving around this time. I should be home by this time. You know, I said, if you don't hear from me, there's something wrong. That was preparing for my trip here. Let's go into my actual drive. There were a ton of warning signs right out the gate. Remember when I said the gas gauge doesn't work? I had no idea how low my tank was. I thought, looking at the speedometer, because every time I put gas in, I hit the trip button to reset it, so I could kind of gauge about how much gas I have in my tank. Well, I did not take into account a couple times where I had to leave my truck running to warm up. And that was before I started having the overheating problem. The overheating problem is very recent, just in the past couple weeks. I'm heading out. I was going to go to the gas station to get gas before I got on the road. I get up to this little dairy bar near me, and I drifted into the parking lot because my truck shut off. I ran out of freaking gas. That was the universe, or God, whomever you believe in, angels, that was somebody telling me, don't go. That was the first warning sign. I go into the dairy bar, and I told people I'm on my way. I was going down to the gas station to get gas, and luckily I ran out of gas. Where I did, at least I was able to drift into the parking lot. There was a gentleman that said, just wait here, I'll be back in 5 minutes. And apparently he went to his house and came back. He went down to the gas station, put some gas in this small little gas can, put a gallon of gas in there, and put the gas in my truck. And I told him, all I have is a $20, as far as cash is concerned, $20 bill. He says, don't worry about it, it's on me. So I thought, okay, that was a blessing. So maybe, you know, this just was a fluke. So I go down and I put more gas in, down to the bottom of the hill, and put more gas in the gas tank. Then I start heading out. While I'm driving, you know, I just had that gnawing feeling, am I doing the right thing? You know, that intuition was kicking in and saying, what the F are you doing, Jennifer? This is crazy. And it was crazy. This was rule number 2, never going to anybody's house. I've never, on a first date, went to somebody's house. You know, I would always say, let's have coffee or something. And I would meet away from the house a few times. You know, I didn't want anybody coming to my house, and I didn't want to go there. Right? But as I was going on my journey, there were delays. You know, the first one was running out of gas. Then I'm running into construction. Then, when it was supposed to be good weather, comes snow showers. Rear wheel drive truck. Okay, it's a Chevy S10. It's an old truck, rear wheel drive, very questionable tires, and snow. Do not mix. It's not a good combination. That's what I was facing. Ran into some snow showers. And by this time, my heart's racing. I'm getting very nervous. At that point, I thought, you know what? I need to just turn around and go home. I ignored my intuition again. Because as I was driving slow, and then all of a sudden the snow shower stopped. The road seemed to be clear. Like, okay, we're through it. Another snow shower, very short, got through it. When I crossed the state line, total whiteout. And I thought, this is it. I pulled into the rest stop because there was a rest stop right across the line. And I get R on the phone, and I said, it's a total whiteout. And he's like,
oh, it's not doing anything here. Roads are good. Everything's good here. Just come on down. Just come slow. You're only 15 minutes away.
That's what I was facing. In reality, I was about a half hour away. And I kept telling him, I'm not moving my truck. I am not moving until the snowstorm passes and somebody's able to tell me that the interstate is clear. And this was actually on the PA Turnpike. okay? And I even contacted the Turnpike Commission, kept checking, see what the road conditions were. And I told him I'm not about to wreck my truck just to come out and meet him. And he was a little bit pushy about it, and that should have been another red flag. It's like God putting obstacles in my path to stop me, and I insisted on. After that, when the roads finally was clearing up, it was smooth sailing getting to his house. It was like God, the universe, saying, we gave you the signs. We tried to get you to turn back. Go do what you're going to do. Well, I got back out on the highway, and then I actually made it to his house. Which brings me to my arrival. Now, after I got to his house, I just ran into more red flags. The first one, I get out of my truck, and he wraps his arms around me and starts hugging me, and it's like, oh my gosh, you feel so good. You are the perfect size. Still pouring on the charm, right? And then he decided he wanted to give me a kiss. I was not exactly comfortable with that, but I allowed it. And, the first thing I noticed was the mint gum. Okay, so he wants fresh breath, but there was an undertone to that mint gum. And I wasn't 100% sure what that was. I was thinking, could that be alcohol? Could he have been drinking this early in the day? This is sometime between 11 a.m. and noon. Is he already hitting a bottle or something? Does he have a problem? And then I thought, Jen, you're trying to think up excuses. Give this guy a chance. Well, most of the day, he could barely keep his hands off of me, constantly hugging me. I'm sitting on the couch, and he's like putting himself on top of me, trying to kiss my neck. He wanted to put a hickey or whatever on my neck, and I'm like, no. And he was put off by that, and he got off of me real quick. But seemed very kind of aggressive. But at the time, I was a little bit uncomfortable, but I went along with the flow. I thought, I need to go along with the flow here. I need to just, not set off alarm bells. But at the same time, there was still part of me that was wanting him to be everything that I wanted him, that he said he was. He was still pouring on the charm. He says, I am so in love with you. He says, I could see me spending the rest of my life with you. And he took me on a tour of the house and everything. Showed off everything that he had. The bar in the basement and the tanning bed, the office. He says, this will be your office, and this is a brand new computer. This computer's yours. He says, I don't care. And he says, you could pick out your vehicle. Whatever vehicle you want is yours. And, again, the carrot, the money thing. And in the back of my mind, I wasn't there for all of that. I don't give a rat's ass about all that. It's nice. Not that I wouldn't be appreciative, but it's not what I was after. But anyhow, he makes this beautiful breakfast. And it was delicious. It was good. Decided we were making pepperoni rolls. So we did a couple things like that totally relaxed me. He used to sing, and he likes to do karaoke. Oh my God, this man sounds exactly like Elvis. He has an Elvis suit and everything, jumpsuit and everything. He could be an Elvis impersonator. Very easy, even with his looks and his voice.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
It'd be hard to distinguish between him and Elvis's voice. Really. And I really mean that. The man has talent. So I will give him that much. And then, all that was going well. His dog seemed to like me. And he did stress many times how protective the Great Pyrenees was. That she will protect her daddy no matter what. He says, it takes her days to warm up to somebody, but she warmed up to me right away. He says, so it means she's already accepted you as part of the pack. He says, you're in the fold. She will protect mommy too. She's going to protect her mama. And he's talking about me. But as we move on throughout the day, there was some inappropriate behavior. Some inappropriate touching that really was not welcome. Made me very uncomfortable. And he wanted me to touch him inappropriately. And he did a little bit of, kind of took my hand, and I don't think I need to get any more graphic than that. He kept on waiting. He kept on saying he can't wait till the day comes that we, get a little bit deeper, maybe a little bit more intimate. He agreed to wait, to be patient with me, because I told him you have to be patient with me. You know, I have to get to know somebody. I don't just jump. And he was fine with that. He even said a few weeks or whatever it took. And then he says, "Well, you want to watch a movie?" He says, and he had a bunch of movies. He said, "There's one on Netflix." And what was it? San Andreas. So we decided we were going to watch San Andreas. I had never seen it. He said, "Well, let's go." He wanted to go into the bedroom to watch it. And I said, "Why don't we just watch it out here?" Instead of saying, "Well, then let's watch something that we can watch on this TV." I went back to the bedroom with him. He wanted me to sit on the bed. I wanted to sit in a chair. You know, it was just one thing after another. And that's where he wanted me to touch his through sweatpants, but still, or lounge pants, but still. Speaking of lounge pants, I had to use the restroom. I went in and I locked the door. And I hear him coming down the hall. He says, "Here, I have a pair of lounge pants that you could put on to make yourself more comfortable." And he went to try to open the door. He says, "Oh, you got the door locked." I wasn't going to come in. Yeah, he was. I just pretty much told him, "No, I'm fine. I don't feel like changing." There were all these red flags. I knew they were there. I was nervous a little bit. But I kept on trying to tell myself it was just irrational fears. I'm reading into things. He's anxious. He wants to be with me. And he's trying to show affection. Stuff like that. But then when it's time to go home, he insisted. He says, "Do you want to take the Silverado or do you want to take the Spark, the Chevy Spark?" I chose the Chevy Spark because it's a smaller car and it has a traction button if you run into bad weather or anything like that. Another mistake I made. My gut told me that I needed to take my truck home. I ignored it. Gotta pay attention, ladies. Ladies, you gotta pay attention to that intuition. I took his car home, 2 hours away. The next morning, he calls up, and I will get into that here in a second. Wait till you hear about the next day. Okay, so we're at the next day, the next morning. It was roughly 7:30 in the morning. He calls and, "Hi, honey. How do you like your new car?" I'm like, "My new car? How do you like it? Did you have any trouble?" He's asking all kinds of questions. How I liked the car. How was my ride home? He's glad I made it home safely because he wanted me to be safe going home. And he said to be careful, make sure I had my seatbelt on before I left the night before. He says, "I'm not worried about the car. I'm worried about you. I want you to be safe." You know, so I kind of was more at ease. So we talked for a little bit. No alarm bells at that point. Then he said, "Well, when you bring the car back, maybe you could stay for a night." Alarm bell went off. This time I was choosing to pay attention to it because the night before I had a hard time sleeping because I laid in bed and I thought about it. That I made the biggest mistake tonight. Biggest mistake of all. I made a ton of them and they're all rolling in my head. Because when I woke up and he called me, he actually woke me up, you know, and he started talking, then they started subsiding. But then we said spending the night. I thought, okay, separate bedrooms, because he did say if I got stuck because of the snow, he had separate bedrooms, he wouldn't bother me. And I thought, well, I'll consider it. I told him I'll consider it. I says, that offer of still separate bedrooms is open, right? Until I'm ready. That's when the real him came out on the phone. He got really nasty. He threw a royal fit. The red flags went off. I kept saying, well, you know, it takes me a little while to warm up. We need to meet a few times, get to know each other before I take that step. And I said, we had this conversation before this began. He says, I'm not waiting. I want you now. He said, you're going to stay the night and we are going to sleep together. And then I'm like, no. I flat out told him no. And then he says, well, bring my car back tomorrow. I said, okay. He got really mean, really nasty in text messages, and I saved them all. And even on the phone. Meanwhile, I'm pacing back and forth. I'm anxious. I had work I had to do. So I lost another day's worth of work on my other channels and on my business but anyhow, I texted him back. I said, I'm going to bring it today. I said, I don't want to wait till tomorrow. And I let everybody again know what I was doing. And I told him to meet me at that rest stop. He wanted me to come to his house to get my truck. and do the exchange. I said, no. I told him, no, I'm not coming to your house. I said, we're going to meet at the rest stop that's right across the state line where I got stuck yesterday because of the snow. We'll do the exchange there. Well, not long after that,
he says, you didn't tell me that the gas gauge didn't work.
How quickly he forgets that he was going to fix that for me. You know, one of his promises, right? And I said, we discussed that. That was one of the things you were going to look at while I had your car. And I didn't know. Yeah, you knew. Yeah, you knew, buddy. He says, it ran out of gas. I'm at the Giant Eagle. He says, my brother's coming for me. He says, he'll be here in an hour. So I'm thinking, okay, I'm going to have to find a gas can somewhere. And I'm thinking all these scenarios in my head. Is he going to abandon my truck and leave it there and be an ass and lock the doors and everything? I did have a extra set of keys, but they were in the truck, hidden. No, they weren't. That's right. I did put that extra set of keys in my purse. But I was thinking, if I had to call a locksmith, how much is that going to cost me? I have an extra set of keys. Am I going to have to get my vehicle rekeyed? All this stuff's going because I figured, okay, I would go to that Giant Eagle where my truck was, leave his car there, do what I needed to do to get my truck going. And I thought I was going to get a gas can, go to a gas station, get some gas in it, and put it in my truck. Enough to get me to the gas station to fill up. The next thing I know it, he asked me where I was. I says, well, I'm at that rest stop. He says, well, I'm already on my way back to the house. I have to unload my truck because apparently he did a Lowe's run because he's working on one of his houses that's right next door to him that he bought with his current property home. He said, I have to unload that. Be easy. Just come to the house and pick up the truck. Again, I said, no, I'm not coming to your house. He says, I don't have time to be running all over the place. Just come to the house. So finally I told him, well, I'm not coming to the house alone. If I have to come to your house to get my vehicle, the police will be with me. I'm not coming there alone. I said, they're going to be there for my safety. And he freaked. You don't need to bring the effing cops here. Just come and do the exchange. Leave the key and my CD on the car seat and I'll leave your keys in your truck. I wasn't trusting it. He definitely did not want me getting the police involved. He was doing everything to lure me to the house. Everything. One excuse after another to get me back at his house. I went into his town and there was a Dollar General. I stopped at that Dollar General and I went inside before I even let him know that I was in town. I went into the Dollar General and I told the cashier and manager there what was happening, that I was scared to death of this man, that I felt that he was a predator and that he had my truck and he's been trying to lure me to the house to do the car exchange. And I said, I'm afraid to go there. I said, I'm going to contact him, tell him to bring my truck here. He's only a few minutes away. I says, I need you guys to do me the favor and be on the lookout if you see anything funny in that parking lot. So he so as much reaches out to me or anything like that, you need to call the police. Because I was not ruling out the possibility of abduction. One of them actually got the police on the phone and told them what was going on. But the police kind of stayed out of sight, but they were just around the corner. And that's the one thing that he doesn't know, that the police were ready to move. They were in position. I might have done some foolish things throughout this whole path, but I smartened up real fast. And he came, we did our exchange, and he left. And after he left, sending me some really nasty text messages, I ended up blocking him. And I actually filled out a police report, or I gave a police report. The police asked me if I wanted to prosecute. I said not at this time, but I want it on record in order in case anybody else comes across this problem, and even if he becomes a future problem for me. And I said I plan on doing that at my local police department as well, because he turned into a total nutcase, very obsessive, very narcissistic. And I flat out told him I'm not going to be controlled. I told him he's an alcoholic, he has severe control issues, and I wasn't dealing with that. And I blocked him. That is my story. Even as I sit here now, I wonder if he's going to show up at my door. Is he that kind of person? I don't know. The state police here, they know. My local police department knows. Police department out in his area knows. There's reports filed. So, my message to you, if you come across this video, be warned, okay? Anyhow, now I want to get on to what tips I have for you. And so let's get to it. My top tips for dating. If you're hitting dating sites or whatever, the number one, background check and research. Search them out on social media. Google them, okay? And go through Intellus or whatever. It's well worth the money to get a criminal background check on them. I can promise you, I will do that with everybody I meet. If I decide to meet anybody else, I have enough of a bad taste to stay single, okay? The only man in my life that I need is my Dalmatian. Man's best friend, right? And woman's best friend. That background check, a must. And search out on social media, Facebook, Instagram, the whole 9 yards. Check with the local police department to see if there have been any previous complaints about him. Okay, because all because he doesn't have a background check doesn't mean he's not trouble. There's a first time for an offense. There's also the chance of him being a sex offender but never getting caught or nobody ever pressing charges. You know, somebody may have reported it but never followed through pressing charges. And then the next thing, never meet at somebody's private home. Never, never, never. Public place, coffee, dinner, lunch, breakfast, whatever. Do not give your address. No, 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 no. Don't let them know exactly where you live. Meet them out in a public place. And if you think they're following you when you leave that public place, go to the nearest police station. And even on the second or third time, take your time to get to know this person before you invite them in your personal space or you go to theirs. And when you go meet this person, have check-ins. You know, let people know the name, telephone number of the person you are meeting. If you have an address for them, give them the address. And let them know where you're meeting, what the circumstances are, and how long you expect to be on that date. Giving a little bit of a grace period, understanding there could be delays. Maybe there was at dinner time that line out the door to get seated in the restaurant. But when you get seated, or even check-ins while you're in line, you know, a quick text message to mom or your brother or your best friend or whatever, your son, your daughter. Okay, we're still in line, we haven't been seated yet. When you get seated, let them know that you've been seated. Then they can estimate, okay, of how long it's going to take you to get your food, how long it takes to eat, and you're going to have conversations and stuff. And let them know when you're leaving. Always have a backup plan, a plan of defense. I have one of these. It's pepper spray. I don't leave home without it. Hooks right onto my keychain. I was lucky this was not on my keychain at the time. It was in my purse. I don't know, at the time, I don't know what made me take it off my key ring. But I put this in my purse. You know, always have some kind of plan, some kind of backup. Have the tracking system in place where friends or family will know your whereabouts. You have your phone on your person, they know where you are. Sure, there's a chance that the perpetrator can take your phone and toss it. But even if that happens, the police, your family members and friends will know where your last location was. Maybe there's security cameras around. Hopefully you don't get into that situation. Hopefully you are very careful about your dealings. Learn from my story. As you can tell, it could have turned out deadly for me. If not, I could have at least been raped, beat up, injured. This has been a life lesson for me. You know, we all make our mistakes. I've had a lot of lessons. A lot of people I've dealt with, I've had a lot of lessons in life. Oh, I won't do that again. I won't do that again. He actually had the audacity to say that I was pathetic. No wonder I'm not married. No, I'm not married because I choose not to be married. I'm still single by choice because I'm not settling for just anybody. I'm not going to, and I told him I'm not going to settle for a piece of shit like you. I know what I want, and I will stay single all the way to my deathbed if I don't find what I want. Bottom line, your happiness cannot depend on another person. You have to be happy with yourself, confident with yourself. I think my independence kind of freaked him a little bit, and he may have tried to get control and be dominant immediately. You don't deal with a Capricorn that way. You're not going to control a Capricorn. You're not going to pin them down. We are about our security. We don't want to rely on anybody. And I told him that right from the get-go. I rely on nobody. And I told him I'm not a gold digger. I'm not after his money. I will pay my own bills. I rely on me and only me. And he's talking about, being able to spend all this time together. I will never have to work again. And I corrected him. I said, yes, I will. I have a business. It's my baby. I will never give it up. I will never give up my independence again. I already did it once. And I had to spend the past 3 years crawling out of that hole. 3 years to get to where I am today. 3 years where I finally have a sense of security. And I told him I will never give that up again for another man. So he knew all this right up front, but he did not know who he was really dealing with. When I got my head on straight and I started being the true Capricorn that I am, got my head together, that's when I had control. I played along with certain ideas of his, but I had an alternate idea and an alternate plan. I had to do what I had to do to get my truck back, but I had to be safe about it. So I do hope that this has helped somebody. Don't do what I did. Be safe. God bless.